JRob here from Team Energy Golf Clash, coming at you guys again this week with another tournament guide and walkthrough video here for the Winter Major Tournament. So, Playdemic has given us a Greenoch Point as this year's Winter Major course. We've had this course a little while back, but a lot of the holes are going to be a little bit different than we had in the Highland tournament. I believe was the last tournament we had Greenoch Point. But we're going to show you guys all the best ways to play those holes. But before we get started, guys, make sure you guys smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. I really do appreciate all of the new subscribers that we have out there and you guys that have bared with me as we start this new kind of process. We've been making content for a while here for Golf Clash, but this is fairly newer to me that we are doing it live on camera here for you guys and trying to, give you guys some better audio quality and stuff like that. So I definitely appreciate you guys bearing with us. But we're going to hop on over to the video, guys, and get it started. But make sure you guys smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's hop on to it. Alright guys, what is up? Welcome to the Winter Major Pro and Expert Division guide and walkthrough video here. I am JRobGC and we are Team Energy. Welcome to the guide. Make sure you guys smash that like button, subscribe to the channel before we get started, and welcome to hole number 1, par 4 here for Greenoch Point. So, right off the tee box here, we're going to want to play this at max distance plus 15% here if we're going with this right-hand side approach. Now, the ideal shot here is to essentially bounce right there at the very end of that fairway, just clipping the rough and rolling out straight towards the pin. Now we can actually get a hole-in-one on this hole. It'd be absolutely fantastic, but it will be a little bit of a challenge. Now what we don't want to do is what you're going to see me do right here. Now you don't want to just bomb it because you are going to end up rolling too fast through that rough and out onto the green and into the rough on the other side. So between 4.5 to 6 bars of topspin is going to be your sweet spot, unless we have a headwind that's coming back at us. But a crosswind, you may want to use just that little tug of overpower and about 4.5 to 5 bars of topspin. You can use a bar, a left-hand side spin, right-hand side spin to kind of cheat you whichever way you're wanting to go. Maybe a hair curl if you need it, to kind of fight the wind push whichever way you're going. But if we do have to lay up, if we have a terrible headwind, we have to lay up on that right-hand side, just on the very first fairway that we're bouncing off of, we're going to have to play that second shot there at plus 15% as well. And the same with the left-hand side. If we have to lay up, we're going to play that at plus 10%. But if you do end up in the rough outside of the green, it's not going to be, an absolutely terrible hard chip to make. As long as you can get right outside of the green, you're going to have a decent opportunity at least snag the eagle. So on hole number 1 here, this is really going to be one of those holes that we're going to have to nail it if we want to do the best that we possibly can. You're really going to want to get the eagle on this hole. Alright guys, so welcome to hole number 2. We've got the racetrack hole, as I like to call it. So we've got a couple different ways that we can actually play the racetrack hole as well here for Greenoch Point. We can play this on the right hand side, or we can play it the race car NASCAR option here on the left hand side, where we can zoom around the funnel and try to get it down into the pin. But no matter what here, off the tee box, we're going to play this at max or mid distance here, plus 5% elevation. Now on this right-hand side approach, this is going to kind of be one of those shots that's going to be dependent on the wind that we have. Now, we can use Thor's hammer here. We could potentially use the rocket with a higher-powered ball, like a power 3 ball, power 4, if you chose to do so. But this left-hand side option is a very good option, in my opinion. So, unless you felt very comfortable with this right-hand side option, and you had a tailwind or a headwind, that's really the only way that I would likely recommend that option. But it could be a good one. But more than likely, we're going to either whip out the quarterback or the rock here. Now, I would personally recommend the rock because it gives us that distance, but the distance really isn't going to be a huge factor on this hole because we're actually going to be playing this at mid-distance club regardless. But you may be up pushing into max with the quarterback here. So just definitely keep that in mind. But what we're going to do here is play this with 1 to 2 bars of right-hand side spin. I would almost recommend 3 bars. You could play this with 3 bars, but the ideal approach here is 2 bars, just a solid 2 bars. And what we're trying to do is 2 bars right-hand side spin, 2 bars to almost 2.5, 3 bars of top spin, and we're going to want it to race around the very top. Now, my ball broke about 2 squares further towards the fairway than it should have actually broke. Now, if we put a little bit more topspin on that, it's going to come in a little bit faster, and it's going to break about 2 squares over, and it's going to angle itself more down towards the pin and hook left just at the last second there, and you're going to catch that pin. So it may be a trickier one here, but definitely one that is going to be a fun one to watch, and it's definitely be cool if you actually nail the hole-in-one on this hole for sure. And I know some people out there are going to do it. So good luck with this one, guys. Alright, guys, moving right along here to our very first par 5 of the Winter Major. So the way that we're going to play hole number 3 here is using about 5 to 6 bars of topspin here. We're going to want to split that right-hand side bunker line and the left-hand rough line right next to where my ball guide is. We're going to play this off the tee box here at plus 20% elevation. Now we're going to want to curl this just a little bit, use that topspin we were talking about, and we're going to want to use about 2 to 3 bars of right-hand side spin. Now I would recommend going into this with about a power 3 ball or so. A Titan or a Kingmaker would be a nice option in my opinion if you've got it, but if not, something similar would work just fine. But it's going to set us up here for a really nice second shot if we can get just about in the middle of that bunker, right beside that bunker in the middle of that fairway. So what we're going to do here is play this off of this little island that's right above the green. Now, it's going to condense our ball guide just a little bit here as it's going to bounce from that little plateau down to the green. So what we're going to actually do is leave our ball guide just a little bit long through the pin. So if you can actually see your ball guide, some locations on there you'll be able to actually see where your ball guide is going to go after it lands down onto where the green is. But what we're going to do is essentially use that right-hand side spin to guide us back in towards the pin, and you may have to kind of eyeball it to where, we were very, very close there. If we would have reduced the side spin just a little bit, we probably would have been a lot closer. But we're going to show you guys another clip here in just a minute as we go back over this, because I want to show you guys something that you should try to make sure that you're doing on the second shot as you go over that. So what we're going to do is make sure that you guys can make a nice shot on that second approach, and you can get a good opportunity at actually being able to get the albatross, so we can try to dial that in. Now that second shot is going to be played at max distance, 0% elevation, and we're more than likely going to want to use the sniper there because it's going to give us the best ball guide combination that we really have. So unless you guys have a really higher level cataclysm, then the sniper, as far as the ball guide goes, is usually your best bet here. So we're going to play this with about 3 bars of right hand side spin, and if you are a little bit further back, as you guys saw, I'm definitely a little bit further back in this clip. So what we're going to do is essentially try to use that top spin to compensate so that it's going to bounce from fairway all the way down to the fairway on the green. So it's going to look like your ball guide is going to go about 3 to 4 squares, farther than where the pin is. But you actually want it to go, your ball guide, if you can see it, you want it to look like it's going, 2 to 4 squares through the where the pin is, because it's actually going to condense your ball guide just that little bit, and it's not going to go as far as you actually think it is. Now, if you do clip the rough, and that's one thing I wanted to show you guys, that if you do clip the rough there, your ball is actually going to roll a heck of a lot further than you think it is, because it definitely has that downhill slope right there, and it's going to clip that rough and just kind of funnel itself right down in. So if you possibly can, and you can play this back, there is actually a way to play it with quite a bit of topspin where you bounce further on back from this fairway and just clip that rough, and you actually follow the funnel right down to the pin. But you have to be using quite a bit of topspin, and if you do miss that shot and you actually hit fairway to fairway on that shot with using that much topspin, you will definitely end up in the bunker on the other side of the green. So I would just recommend using about anywhere from 1 to 3 bars of topspin at maximum off of that top plateau. 2 is going to be about 1 to 2 is going to be about your sweet spot depending on your distance there. But just make sure you can hit a nice 0% elevation, perfect shot there, and you guys should be a-okay. Alright though guys, that's going to move us right on over to our next par 3 that we do have here today at hole number 4. So there's actually multiple different ways that we could play this hole. Now this is one of the tougher holes in the tournament in my opinion. It's going to be one of those ones that you're really going to kind of have to work to get the hole in one, especially knowing your adjustments. But we can play this one with the rough bump, and we have multiple opportunities here that we can use the rough bump for. But the main way that we're really going to want to play this is mid-distance, 0% elevation here off of the tee box. Now, you may be adjusting up into max distance, so that's why we're going to see mid or max distance on the right-hand side info box. Now, what we're looking for is to just clip that rough about a ring further than we did right there. Now that's going to push us right in there towards the pin. Now I just missed my elevation adjustment just a little bit. I underplayed that actually, but what we're looking for there is that mid distance at 0% elevation, so that you can make a nice wind adjustment with about 2.5 to 3 bars of left-hand side spin to anywhere from like 1.5 to 2.5 bars of backspin. Now, depending on the wind that you have, you're going to kind of adjust whichever wind you have to compensate with where your ball guide's going. So if you got a left to right wind, you're going to just offset your ball guide about a square to the left or a square to the right, whichever way that your wind is coming, to just offset it a little bit, because your ball guide's going to look like it's going through the pin, but once it clips that rough, it's going to be a little deceiving, because like we said, your ball guide's going to look like it's going through it, but it's not actually going to. It's going to, if anything, it's going to come up just a little bit shy. But like we wanted to show you guys there, like with that extra mile clip, you can do that rough bump opportunity with any driver if you really wanted to. It all just depends on whether or not you really know your adjustments or not. Now, if you don't feel comfortable going with the rough bump opportunity, we can play over the bunker and the rough line here. Now, what you're going to do is play it with about a bar right-hand side spin there, and this shot as well is going to look like it's going to go further than it is, but it's going to condense your ball guide. That's one of the biggest things that this tournament does, and the way this course plays is there's a lot of shots on this course that really condense your ball guide, and it kind of deceives you into thinking that your ball guide is going to go a lot further than it really is. So what we're looking for here is anywhere from like a half a bar of topspin to about a bar and a half of topspin, depending on the wind that we have. Now, if we have a drastic headwind, you may even have to use up to like 2, maybe just a hair more of topspin. But just make sure that you can have your ball guide about a square to 2 squares past the pin there, going through the pin, and you should be just fine. But if going into this hole, you do have to play just with a side spin 2 ball, and you don't have like a side spin 3 or something like that that you can use, I would say either one, use the bounce over approach, or get your target just where you want it here, with that red ring just dipping down into that bunker there, and our yellow ring almost touching that left-hand rough line there. And then what we're going to do is essentially make sure we can compensate just a little bit more for that left-hand side spin that we're losing out on if we have one of those wind angles that we have to just use a little bit more than 2 bars of left-hand side spin. So just curl it just that little bit to the left so you can get around a little bit more to dive it in there towards the left and snag that hole in one.
Birdie.
Moving right along here to the next par 5 that we do have here today at hole number 5. The way that we're going to play hole number 5 here is we have a really nice rough bump opportunity here on the second approach. But here off the tee box, we're going to play this at max distance plus 10% elevation. Now what we're looking to do here is play this with about 5, 6, 7 bars of topspin, as much as you have on your extra mile, your APOC. We're looking to get it as far down that fairway as we possibly can. You may have to use a little bit of overpower here, and I do want to apologize for my necklaces clanging. I got my necklaces here and they're just kind of clanging. I probably should have taken them off. But essentially we're looking to get as far down towards the end of that fairway as we possibly can, because it's going to essentially shorten up that distance to the pin and make us have a nice opportunity to the pin without having to adjust into overpower or anything like that, that we can take a nice rough bump opportunity. Now you pretty much can bomb this down the fairway. We had a little bit of headwind here, but as you can see, my opponent had I believe a topspin 3 boost ball there, and he was able to get all the way down at the very end of the fairway, and you'll see that he actually has a long iron to the pin instead of a wood club. Now I'm going to actually be taking a sniper shot to the pin here, and he's going to be using, I believe it was a Goliath, or you could use something like the Grizzly B52, whatever long iron you choose to use. But what we're looking for here is about the red ring about halfway, or the blue ring about halfway cut off by the rough line there, and we're looking about a half a bar of backspin, or a bar of backspin there, just out of the rough. Make sure that your ball guide is going just a little bit past the pin. I would say like a half a square past the pin. We want it like just through, so that we know that it's going to drop, but it's not going to go too fast. Because as you're going to see here, we made a beautiful adjustment at mid distance, minus 20% there. But if we would have just used a hair more backspin, we wouldn't have actually jumped over the hole right there, and we've been able to drop for the albatross, making that one of the best strokes there in the tournament to actually snag a nice albatross, in my opinion, because a lot of the other par 5s, you're taking a little bit more of a difficult shot, and especially on hole 9, we've got a crazy curled shot that we're going to have to take. So this is going to be one of the better opportunities, in my opinion. Now, if you get all the way up there towards where my opponent is now, and you do have a long iron to the pin, you're more than likely going to play that at minimum to mid distance here, minus 20% as well. So keep that in mind. And there is that little funnel, as you can see his ball guide is kind of hooking back in towards the pin. I was actually very surprised at how close he actually came to catching that funnel and coming into the pin, because it looked like it was going to come a little bit further out there to the right, and it just dove right back in there towards the flag. So that would be pretty sweet if we could actually land that shot and it curl back in and drop. So it's going to be a pretty fun hole. That's going to be one that you're really going to have to look out for and try to nail those opportunities when you got them. But good luck out there, guys, and we are going to move on to the next one. Alright guys, so here we've got hole number 6, par 4 here. So the way that we're going to play hole number 6 is we could actually play this a couple different ways as well. Now we could play this from the left hand side, we could play this from the right hand side, or we could play it straight down the middle. Kind of depends on whichever ball that we want to use. Now if we want to play the right hand side, that's going to be kind of the lower power ball option, where you can just get it down the right hand side fairway. You can take a nice wood shot to the pin. You could either use the Guardian, you could use the Sniper here on this hole, or we could kind of play this overpowered down the middle of the fairway. Now, I wanted to show you guys this shot right off the bat, because if you do want to use a higher powered ball, or if you have the topspin to get it all the way down the middle of that fairway, it's going to be a way better opportunity for you guys to actually snag the eagle, and it's definitely the approach that I recommend more than others, because you're going to take either a short iron or a minimum distance long iron shot to the pin there. So what you guys can do is play that full top spin, 2-3 bars left hand side spin, a little bit of curl, and just launch it down the middle of that fairway. Just make sure that you make a nice wind adjustment there at max distance, plus 10% off the tee box. Now, if you don't feel comfortable doing that, you can play this down the right hand side. Now, the right hand side option, we're going to play that with about 2 bars of right hand side spin, anywhere from 4, 5, 6 bars of top spin, depending on how far you really want to get down there and your wind angle. If you've got a tailwind and it's already blowing you that way, you know, you don't need to bomb it, especially down on this right hand side, because as long as you get it down there nice on the fairway, you'll be able to reach the green no problem. Now, depending on the shot that you have, you're either going to take a rough bump opportunity there, or you're going to go with the Guardian and just lay it straight back up on the green and just kind of take the birdie. Because if not, it's, you know, the full backspin approach onto the green is one that I'm not really sure if you're actually capable of making that shot if you have the backspin with the Guardian to get it around, because the way that the green is actually sloped, it's very hard. I think you'd have to probably play it to the left and like curl it in. It'd be like one of the most, luckiest shots ever, really. So you're just kind of laying it up on the green if you want to play it with the Guardian, and you're just going to kind of take the birdie unless you somehow get lucky. But what we're going to do for that second shot is play it at mid or max distance there, like you just saw, plus 20%. So we're essentially just going to play it with about 3 to 4 bars of backspin straight at the pin, getting it to bounce right off of that little hill on the top there next to the fringe line, getting it to bounce right down towards the pin, but just slowing down that little bit there so it can actually go in. But there is that rough bump opportunity like we were talking about here. Now, it's going to look like your ball guide is going to go through the pin, really no matter how much backspin that you put on it, unless you put like so much backspin, it's not even funny. But like we're going to use about 4 bars of backspin, and then you're going to use the side spin to guide your ball guide in towards the pin. But 4 bars of backspin there is going to be about the ideal approach that you're going to want, and it's going to be about the sweet spot you need to really get it to slow down enough to catch the pin and actually drop. And as you can see there with the Guardian, like I was talking about there with that full backspin, it doesn't have the backspin to actually hit and bounce and roll back towards the pin to where it will drop, especially with the green being sloped down like that. It's not really going to want to roll right back up and towards. So what you're going to do here is, like we said, we're going to play this right off of that rough line there. We're essentially going to use that funnel straight down towards the pin. And more than likely, you're probably going to use left-hand side spin, not right-hand side spin, but you can play it with right-hand side spin like my opponent is here. Just depends on where you line up in the rough. Now, 4 bars of backspin, like we said, is going to be the ideal approach. Now, here, you're going to see my opponent go with just about a little bit less. Now, he went with about, I think it was like a bar and a half to almost 2 bars, and you're going to see his ball, it looks like it's going straight through the pin there, because it's going to keep rolling down the hill, and it's not going to be too fast, or it may not be a crazy speed, but it is more than likely going to be just that hair too fast to actually catch the pin. It will just whoop right over it. So gonna be a tricky one, but definitely one that I know you guys can manage. Okay, guys, moving right on over to hole number 7, par 3 here, the last of the par 3s that we do have here today. We're gonna kind of go over this one quick. The way that we got this hole here dialed in, we're gonna play this with 3 bars of right hand side spin, and we're going to play this with 1 to 2 bars of topspin. Now, if we use a little bit of curl here, we're going to have to use just that little bit more topspin, because that means that our ball is actually going to break just a little bit closer than it normally would using that curl. So that means we have to use a little bit more topspin, because it'll break a little bit further out and we'll push our ball further around that funnel in the top of that hill. Now, we're going to play this at mid-distance plus 20% elevation here off the tee box, and we're looking to have that ball guide come in just a little bit faster, so it comes up and around and it actually starts breaking down towards the pin about 2 squares shy, or 2 squares further over than it is. So we're about 2 squares shy right now, because we ended up about, like we said, 2 squares shy towards us instead of further over towards the pin. So we should have used about 3 bars of right hand side spin, about 1.5 bars of top spin, just that click and curl, and you should be just perfect. Alright guys, moving right along to our second to last hole that we've got here today in the Winter Major. We've got hole number 8. So the main way that we're really going to focus on how to play this hole here is the way that a lot of you guys are going to play it out there, because the majority of people are going to eagle this hole, so you're definitely going to want to have to make sure that you do eagle it. So what we're going to do here is play this anywhere from 4 to 4.5, 5 bars of topspin. We're looking at about mid-distance club here plus 10% for the bounce over shot. Now we're looking for the quarterback, the rock, something that's going to give you a good ball guide and enough distance there to really bounce over the rough, just clipping that rough and rolling out into the fairway. We want it to be about a ring shy of the fairway there, just clipping that rough to be able to roll out into the green, so we can put our ball in for a nice eagle on hole number 8. If we do want to play this on the left-hand side, all the way up where the green lies on, the fairway that the green lies on, and we're going to use backspin with the extra mile or the APOC to curl it around to the right. We're going to play that shot at max distance plus 10%. So definitely keep that in mind as well. And then move on to hole number 9, par 5, and wrap it up for you guys. Alright guys, we are going to finish up the Winter Major right here with hole number 9, par 5. So we've got a couple different options and way we could actually play this hole number 9 as well. We could potentially play it to the right hand side over there, curling it down that first Y and getting it right on the furthest platform over that little river that runs through there. But if you want to play it the most safe option and still have a really decent opportunity at being able to grab the albatross, you can play it over here to the left hand side. Now you can play it with about 3.5 to 4 bars of topspin, anywhere from 2 to 3 bars of right hand side spin. But do keep in mind that if you do use like 2 bars, you're going to have to use just a little bit more curl to compensate for that lack of side spin. But we're looking to get it right down the fairway, as far down here as we possibly can, and really not clip that rough, because like I said, I've been definitely having a little trouble hitting perfect. So we're going to get it as far down that fairway as we possibly can, and we're essentially going to take a really nice curled shot to the pin. Now we're going to use the sniper, the hammerhead, cataclysm, something that gives us a good amount of ball guide, but we have a ton of curl. We need like 100% curl on our club, or at least as much as the sniper level 10 has, which I believe is almost max, if not max. So I also wanted to show you guys as well that you can play this off of like the middle island approach, and you can essentially use like a power 4 5 ball, and you can bomb it with tailwind straight down this fairway. Now my opponent actually went a little bit too far there. He went about 20-30 yards too far. If he would have stayed about 30 yards back and had been about 400 or so, 410, he would have been right in the middle of that tree line to where he could take a straightforward shot right at the pin, being able to drop for a good short iron approach for the albatross, which is going to be an amazing opportunity if you can actually get your ball in that location off of the drive. But what we're going to do here for this second shot from the left-hand side is we're going to play this with 3 bars of right-hand side spin and 2 to 2.5 bars of top spin here. Now, our ball is going to look like it's going to bounce straight into the middle of that bunker. That's where we want it to line up. But we're actually going to curl that all the way around, and it's going to curl it right in towards the pin, which is essentially going to push that ball, and it's going to catch a little bit of that funnel and it's going to slope all the way down to the right and hopefully be able to drop for an albatross there. If not, you'll be right on the green, somewhere very close, and being able to putt your ball in for the eagle. It's going to be one of those shots that isn't really 100% replicated the right way or the exact same way every single time, because it is a curled shot, but it's one of those ones that if you can get it in the general location, you know where you're aiming, you can make a good wind adjustment, hit that perfect ball at, max distance plus 10% there for our second shot. You should be in pretty good shape. And off the tee box there, I don't know if we mentioned, off the tee box on our very first shot is going to be max distance plus 10% there off the tee box, so definitely do keep that in mind as well. But this is pretty much going to be one of those holes, pretty straightforward par 5, in my opinion. Just one of those holes that you're going to have just that little bit of luck to grab that albatross, guys. So good luck, guys, and that's going to be the wrap-up. Alright though, guys, that is going to be the wrap-up for the Pro and Expert Division guide and walkthrough video here for the Winter Major Tournament. I definitely hope that this guide and walkthrough helps you guys, and I really sincerely do appreciate every single one of you guys out there that have bearing with us as we go over all of these guides. All of you new subscribers, it really does mean so much. So I want to personally thank each and every one of you guys. I hope that the video helped you, and we definitely hope to see a lot of you guys around. I'm hoping to be streaming here soon as well, and we're going to start branching out, making all tons of different kind of content as well. But I am working very hard as well, and I do have my own job, so we're going to be staying busy, that is for sure. So if you guys would love to see some more content coming from us on a lot of things that we're going to have in store, we're going to start using the community a lot more to really grab our community and hopefully bring us all together as we smash the pop filter here. But I hope that you guys have a good time watching the guides and the content, and hope to get to hang out with some of you guys here soon as we start streaming. But that's going to be the end of the video here, guys. Take care, stay safe out there, guys, and we will definitely catch you in the next video. Peace.